Hello, Di here. Today I'm bringing you my very first project for the Ephemera Vintage Garden design team. I'm making a Fauxdori. The first time I've tried to make one of these, and I decided to make a nice soft cover. So I'm using some calico with a medium weight fusible interfacing ironed onto the back of it, and a piece of fun foam, and I'm just sandwiching the fun foam between the two layers of the calico, which are cut to an A4 size. And you can see there's the first piece all glued up with foam glue and adhering it down onto the foam, which I then take to my caterpillar and trim the excess from. You can see there it's nice and trimmed. And now I simply have to add the second piece of A4 sized calico, and both these pieces had the interfacing on the back. You can just see it there. And adding the foam glue that side too, and adhering it down. I did trim this again using my rotary cutter and a steel ruler, simply to make sure that everything was nice and straight. I trimmed about 1/8 of an inch off all around just to make it as neat as I could. There you are, you can see what I trimmed off with the rotary cutter. And there it is, all finished. After I'd done that, I sewed around the outside, and you can just see there the line of stitching. Measured up about 1/2 inch in and about 1/2 inch apart for the little grommets. Punched some holes, added the grommets, and this is to hold the elastic which actually holds the inserts in place. It's a very simple design, but a very clever one. I had a little bit of trouble with these. I really could have done with some grommets with slightly longer shanks on them, but by changing the setting on my crocodile, I was able to make them flatten nicely and compress the foam. There we go. I've got the hang of it now. I sometimes forget that you can change the settings on the machine. To get the middle one in place, I needed to use the big bite, and here's where I made a bit of a design fault. I put one hole, and I really should have put two, one side by side, because that would have allowed me to put the elastic from the inside out one hole, back through the next hole, and then tie it at the back. And as I only put one hole, I ended up creating a bit of an issue for myself. So the next one I make will have 2 holes there, not just one. I resolved the issue, as one does. I was very pleased with this little journal. It's an 8x5, let me say that again. It's a 5.5 by 8.5 printable journal kit, Ephemera's Heartsong. You can see there, this is the paper that I'm using, the weight of the paper. For the inserts, I printed the covers of the inserts out on a 210 GSM, whereas this paper's I think it's 120. Folded all the pages up, trimmed them down so they didn't stick out, and here I'm just making a little template for marking the holes in the inserts. I was going to staple it, but I realized I didn't have one of the old-fashioned staplers that open right up, so you can just push the staples through. So I found it was easier just to stitch them. So I made a series of 6 holes, which I'm poking into the template there through the back of the telephone book. Adding the template to the inside of the little insert, and now I'm pushing it through to make the holes for the stitching. And I did that to three. I've got 3 inserts and one that's got some pockets in it. So there's 4 in all, but only 3 of them have got journaling pages. You can see the holes there. Set up my little tin of journaling tools, and I chose a fairly fine wool needle, so I needed to use the threader to actually wangle that crochet thread through. It was a little thick, but I didn't want to make the holes any larger than I needed to by using a larger needle, and with the needle threader it's worked quite well. Take that through from the outside to start with, and then just work my way up the holes, going in and out to the top, making sure that the thread is kept taut between each of the holes. If you check it as you go, you usually don't have any problems when you get to the end. If you leave loops and loose pieces as you're sewing, then you can sometimes have a bit of problems getting it taut at the end. If you had one of the staplers that could allow you to staple, the staples would work quite well. But it only takes a moment to sew. Now I'm just tying that in a double knot to make sure it stays nice and secure. And I actually put a little bit of super glue on these after, just to make sure they're tight and stay that way. And repeat that with the other 2 inserts. The pages are all perfectly plain. Now I've got them all stitched, I'm going to add a little bit of super glue just on the knot and just above and just below, so that the threads are held together. Using a toothpick to help spread that out neatly. And then when it's set, I can trim off those little ends that are left. You can see there the gorgeous colours in this printable journal kit. It's cheerful and just lovely. Here I've made a couple of pockets from some of the pages, and I'm just going to put some double-sided tape on those and add them into the 4th insert, which has become an insert that holds bits and pieces for using while journaling, some stickers and bits and pieces. Making sure I add plenty of double-sided tape to those so that they stay in place and are quite robust. Taking off the backing paper, and adding them into that little 4th insert page. There's so much potential in a kit like this that's got so many different bits, pages, tags, envelopes, insert bits, journaling cards, you name it. And once you've got the kit, you can just do so much with it. That's the long pocket going along the side of that insert. Putting a little bit of glue stick on that just to make sure I've got it in the right place before it sticks permanently. and burnishing it down so that it's well adhered. I thought I'd add one of the lovely butterflies. It's a lovely big green one to that pocket. It's already got a few butterflies on it, but it was such a handsome chap, I thought he needed to have a special place. Just putting some glue on his feelers. And adhering him down. There were two small green butterflies, two that I cut out. So I'm just going to go around the edge of that, both of those, and turn them into a paper clip. With the use of some Ephemera scrap dots, which I spread thinly over the wings and put a little glob in the middle to hold the paper clip in place, and just spread that over the paper clip with a toothpick just to make sure it's going to stay put. The scrap dots is wonderful stuff. You do need to leave it. I left this one overnight to set, to let the adhesion take. If you do that, if you're not trying to rush it, it works brilliantly. It's quite good. It's sort of a silicone-y stuff. It gives you a little bit of dimension too. Just using some little plastic clips to hold those together. I decided that I would put a couple of the doodle fairies onto some of these inserts. Here I'm just adhering down one of the little envelopes that I like to add a few envelopes into my journal, so you can put the information about the journal itself in, or if you're giving it as a gift, you can put a little note card in there, or a message to the person you're giving it to. That's a dear little envelope that's just straight out of the kit, and fit it in there. I think in the end I had the little butterfly attached to that. Here I'm just going through, I've cut out several of the doodle fairies that I'd printed onto various pages. So I'm just looking for one to put on the front of that. Decide on the one with the green wings. I spend far more time fiddling about trying to decide what I'm going to use and where I'm going to place it than I do actually making things, I think. Going around the edges with a pen just to get rid of that white line where you cut them. Adding some craft glue and setting it in place on the front of that insert cover. It's a nice weight paper that I use for the covers. It's I think it's what some people are calling presentation paper. It's the laser printer paper, and it's got a lovely silky finish. It prints out just beautifully with a nice sheen to it once it's... This is the other insert that didn't have a fairy on it, so I found one that I liked on there and added her to the front as well. Again, more edging of the fussy cut images. And adhering it down to the front of that little cover. These pages are what was left over from making the pockets, and I decided rather than waste them I would add them to some file cards that are great for journaling. I love the weight of them. Didn't want to waste those nice images and the photocopying or printing. So I just found suitable sized file cards and adhered them on, let them dry, then cut them out as tags. You'll see those in a minute. There were 3. I also added the smaller cards that I'd cut out from the Printable, added those to file cards too. I really like the weight it gives them, plus it puts the journaling spot on the back. This one had been partly scored for a pocket, but I didn't need it, so I just trimmed out the score lines and added the little scrap too. Just made that into a usable little tag size. Putting a bit of weight on them while they dry, and then going through all the rest of the little box of cutouts and working out where I can position them for least wastage. There we go. Now there's some little sentiments in the kit, and I cut those out. Here I'm just putting a little bit of distress ink around the edges of them, and I added one of those to the front. There were 3 nice little quotes, so I added those to the front of the 3 journaling inserts, just to add a little bit of interest. They look rather as if the doodle fairies are holding them. Now I got out the Xyron Creator sticker and made stickers of some of those other cutouts. They can be added into the journal, the various spots. They can be used as page markers or as decoration, and they're quite fun. So trimmed them all out and added them into the little journal. Couple of tickets there. There they go, just popping those into the little pocket. And now I'm making the tags. Here you can see I'm just nipping the corners off those tags. They're all cut out. I'm working out which is the top, which is the bottom, using the 1/8 and the 3/8 inch corner rounder, putting some holes in some of them, and then using the deco corner chomper to create tags from some of those larger ones. Makes a nice tag edging. I think it's quite fascinating watching. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there with people actually making a video of how they journal, which seems a little introspective to me, but obviously people enjoy watching them. They seem to be very popular. I don't think I would ever make a video showing someone how I journal, but I think it just demonstrates that there are so many different ways of using these little journals, and having tags and journal spots and places to pop photos and things makes them really interesting. Here's how I put the journal together, which took me a little while to work out. There's 2, the last and the second last pieces. You can see they're joined together with just a piece of simple hat elastic tied in a little knot, and then you put one under the back string, and you pull it through to the center of that one string, and voila, the 2 pages are in. It's wonderful. Very clever little simple design. So those 2 are held in, and I'll just show you again with this one. 2 inserts, piece of elastic that goes into the center, and the elastic is probably just a little bit longer than double the length of the insert, and then when you tie it in a knot and have a bit of a tie, it just makes it slightly shorter, and that's enough. You don't want it too tight or it'll buckle them. I'm slipping that one over the elastic like so, so they're joined together in the middle, and then slipping that under the central elastic, which is through the back of the cover. And there they are, all 4 inserts are now firmly attached. If you only had 2, of course you could just slip that over the elastic and have the 2. There you are, putting that one over. Lovely. The little flower on the front is purely decorative. I made those with felt, and they follow the motifs, a couple of the motifs from the set itself. And I also made a paper clip and some other decorations, but I've got a bit of a horror of over decorating things, so I decided not to use those, but I did make a paper clip from the smaller one. Well, that's about it. I've had such a lot of fun with this lovely printable. Go and check it out. I'll put all the details of how to get to the shop in the description box, and I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.